Hi, 5th grade. This is Mrs. Gyoko with your flipped math lesson for today, 8-6. So today's objective is I can determine a rule and write an expression for it using multiplication or division. Yesterday we determined a rule and we wrote expressions using addition and subtraction. So today it's the same type of thing, only with multiplication and division. So here's our example problem. We have a number of boxes which is represented by the variable b, and there will be one box, then two boxes, then three boxes, then four boxes. And there are a certain number of note cards inside of each box. In one box, there are 15 note cards. In two boxes, there are 30 note cards. In three boxes, there are 45 note cards. And in four boxes, we have to find out how many note cards there are. Well, before we find out the answer, let's find out, well, what's the rule for the table? What is happening in the table? What's the rule? When I have one box, I have 15 note cards. So it looks like I am just adding, but remember we're using multiplication or division today, so I have to be multiplying. So when our numbers are getting larger, we know we're going to be using multiplication. If our numbers are getting smaller, we know that we are going to be using division. Okay, so what am I multiplying by? Well, it looks like I'm multiplying times 15. Okay, 1 times 15 equals 15. 2 times 15 equals 30. 3 times 15 equals 45. So what would be 4 times 15? Well, 4 times 15 is 60. So we know that that is the unknown quantity in that box. Well, how would you write this as an expression? The expression for this, if B is the number of boxes, remember up here, B represents the number of boxes. Remember that that number can change. B is the number of boxes. To find out the number of note cards, it's going to be B times 15. Whatever B is, if you take it times 15, then you're going to find out how much the note cards are. That's our expression right there. Okay, so this is the rule. Multiply times 15. Here's the expression, B times 15. Okay, so we're going to be doing those two things today, finding the rule and writing the expression. Let's look at another example. In the top row, we have number of tickets. It's going to be represented by the variable t. There are 2 tickets, then 4, then 6, and then 8. The total price of the tickets is represented in the row below it. 2 tickets cost $60. 4 tickets are going to cost $120. 6 tickets will cost $180. You have to find out what's the relationship between the number of tickets and the total price. So when I look at it, I see that the 2 is changing to 60, so it's getting bigger. I must be using multiplication. Well, how much am I multiplying it by? 2 times what will equal 60? Well, I know 2 times 30 equals 60. Because 2 times 3 equals 6, so 2 times 30 will equal 60. 4 times 30 equals 120, and 6 times 30 equals 180. So think to yourself, what is 8 times 30? Well, 8 times 3 is 24, so 8 times 30 will be 240. And don't forget to put your dollar sign. So the rule is multiply times 30. Well, what's the expression? If t is the number of tickets up here, that's represented by t, how do we represent the total price? That would be t times 30. Okay? Not too hard. Let's try a few together. So number 1, we have our first row is represented with the letter n, the variable n, and then we have n multiplied a quantity. So I'm going to go ahead and let you know that we're going to be multiplying on this problem. So the rule is going to be multiplying times something. We need to find out what we're multiplying times. Okay, so it starts off as n, and it starts off as 3, then it changes to 18. 3 times what equals 18? Well, 3 times 6 equals 18. Let's see if that continues to be the rule. 8 times what equals 48? Well, 8 times 6 is 48. 10 times what equals 60? Well, 10 times 6 equals 60. So we know that we're multiplying times 6. Our rule is multiply times 6. 12 times 6 equals what? So we have an empty quantity here. We got to fill that in. 12 times 6 is 72. Okay. What's the expression then? Well, the expression is going to be n times 6, because everything up here is n. Everything down here is going to be n times 6. Let's try number 2. We have a quantity p, and then underneath it we have p divided by a certain amount. Okay, so we know our rule is going to start with divide by some number. Okay, so in our first row, p equals 2, and then it changes to 1. So 2 divided by what equals 1? Well, 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Let's see if that rule continues to work. 4 divided by 2 equals 2. 8 divided by 2 equals 4. 10 divided by 2 equals, this one you have to put it in, 5. Okay, so our rule is divided by 2. So what's the expression? What would go here? It would be p divided by 2. That's our expression. Okay, number 3. We have a quantity t, and we know we're going to be using multiplication to find the amount on the bottom row. So t starts off as 2, and we multiply it times the number to get to 16. What are we going to multiply it times? If you said 8, you're correct. 2 times 8 equals 16. Let's see if that rule continues. 3 times 8 equals 24. 4 times 8 equals 32. So we can be positive our rule is times 8. Fill in this box. What's 5 times 8 then? 5 times 8 is 40. Okay, so our expression is, what are you multiplying times to get, or multiplying t times to get the bottom answer? Well, we're taking 8 times t. Now there, you could write it the other way as well. You could write it t times 8. Or what often happens in algebra is they don't even put the multiplication sign. You just have 8t. Okay? Remember we talked about that a few days ago. Number 4. E is going to represent the quantities in the top row, and E is going to be divided by a number to find the quantity in the bottom row. So we know our rule is going to start with division, because our numbers are getting smaller from top to bottom. If it's getting smaller, we know we're dividing. 4 divided by what equals 1? 8 divided by what equals 2? And 12 divided by what equals 3? Well, 4 divided by 4 equals 1. 8 divided by 4 equals 2. And 12 divided by 4 equals 3. Okay, so we know our rule is divided by 4. If we have 16 and we divide it by 4, how much is it going to equal? 4. Okay, 16 divided by 4 is 4. So how do we write our expression here? We write it E divided by 4. Whatever E was on the top, we divided it by 4 to get the answer. So our expression is E divided by 4. Okay, now these are going to get a little harder because I'm going to take away the operation, and you have to figure out what the operation is on your own. Okay, so here's an example of that. So in the top row we have J, and the first quantity for J is 4. And then it changes to 28. So are we multiplying or are we dividing? 4 changed to 28. Do you have to use multiplication or division? We have to use multiplication. Okay, to make that number bigger, you'd have to multiply it times another quantity. So 4 times what equals 28? If you said 7, you're correct. 4 times 7 is 28. Okay, so let's see if that continues to be the rule. 9 times 7 equals 23. 10 times 7 equals 70. 16 times 7. Ooh, do you know that off your head? I don't either. So let's go ahead and multiply it over here in the corner. 16 times 7. 7 times 6 is 42. Carry the 4. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 4 is 11. So that answer would be 112. Okay? So now we figured out that the rule is that we are multiplying it times 7. So what's our expression going to be? If J is the quantity on the top, how do we express the quantity on the bottom? We express it by writing J divided by, or I'm sorry, whoops, not divided, multiply. J multiplied times 7. Okay? If you wrote 7 times j, that's the same thing. Or if you wrote 7j, those all mean 7 times j or j times 7. It's the same thing. Try number 6. Our quantity on top is w. It starts off as 5 and it changes to 45. What operation are you using? If you said multiplication, you're correct. How much are you multiplying it times? You're multiplying it times 9. 5 times 9 is 45. Let's see if that rule applies here. 7 times 9 is 63. 8 times 9 is 72. Well, what would 10 times 9 be? That'd be 90. Okay, so our rule is we're multiplying it times 9. What would be the expression then that shows these numbers down here? It would be w times 9. Another way to write that is 9 times w, or 9w. Okay, let's try some on your own and we'll see if you get it right. Number 7. What is the rule and what's the expression? And don't forget the missing amount. Okay, if you notice that when the numbers change, they got smaller, you would know that is division. And when we divide, usually numbers get smaller. And we're dividing by 5. 20 divided by 5 is 4. 35 divided by 5 is 7, and so on. Well, 45 divided by 5 equals 9. Okay? So what would be the expression then? If this up here equals s, then the bottom amount can be represented by s divided by 5. Okay? Let's try another one. Oh, we're done? Was that it? Can't be it. It is. Looks like we're done. Alright guys, well we're finished for tonight. Look at that. 12 minutes and 20 seconds. Good job. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.